you heard about the congressman who was accosted in an elevator.
Sure.
By a repeat offender. She was his 13th victim. You know about the story in Michigan with Murray, who also had his issues and killed these kids at the University of Michigan for no reason at all. Is this an indictment of DAs and prosecutors and plea bargaining where they want to give them another chance instead of the accountability and responsibility that people are talking about now?
That plays well from a media standpoint, but the criminal justice system, which I've been a part of for over 32 years, in fact 50 years if you include my father, who was a criminal defense lawyer and a judge in Illinois. The reality is that the criminal justice system and the way we implement it and administer it is overwhelmed, if you will. You know, wherever you are, federal or criminal, if every defendant exercised their rights and created or directed that they wanted a trial, the system would break down immediately. And so the idea of plea bargains is a necessity in the criminal justice system. Otherwise, it would just be overwritten. And so it's more complicated than that. The system is overwhelmed, one. Two, plea bargaining is necessary. Now, how you plea bargain and who you plea bargain and how you plea bargain is very different. We got to get better at that. Every state is very different. Every jurisdiction is very different. But you can't blame plea bargaining, which is necessary to doing justice in this country, and the fact that people go out and they commit crimes. You got to look deeper. Are they mentally ill? Are they career criminals, whereby they've demonstrated they're going to commit crime again, and you got to keep them in? Is there room in the system to keep them in prison, if you will? Are their rights being abridged or negated if you don't let them out or if you do let them out? So every circumstance is different. The tragedy in MSU or anywhere has a lot to do with access to guns. Why did that shooter have an access to a gun? He pled down to a misdemeanor. The prosecutors couldn't prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt at the felony level, but they could at the misdemeanor level, and he was willing to plea at that. And so it gets far more complicated. The real problem in this country is that we got more guns. The number one killer of young people is gun violence, and we cannot continue to allow access to guns. America, and I'll end on this note, has agreed and accepted, right, the carnage of this Second Amendment, that we have to protect our gun rights at all costs. And as a result, access to guns have caused these mass murderers to flourish. Got to do something about access to guns, mental health, but more importantly, we got to educate people and we got to employ people so their alternative to a life of crime or violence is poured into a job, a career, and financial success in their lives. You got to give them hope. It's a continuum of answers and a continuum of care for the human condition.
Why hasn't the system been able to keep up with the times? And why are we so overgrown? The system is so overwhelmed when you look at technology, you look at what we have become. How is it possible that we are not in a position to keep up with this?
Technology will never overwhelm the human condition or human nature of individuals. If you're born into a life of poverty and crime and a circumstance that is hopelessness, and that you see crime as a way out, or drug dealing as a way out, or any crime, and I'm talking about black, white, yellow, or brown. If you don't have the mentors and if you don't see a way out in some level of hope, then you can be the exception or you can be the rule. We need young people, rich, black, poor, white, it doesn't really matter, to choose hope over necessity, if you will, and give them a pathway out so that they can see and have the values necessary in their communities to believe in doing righteousness in this country.
So let me challenge you. Because, you know, a lot of people when you say guns are the issue, that's red meat for the conservatives.
You disagree with that?
Start having a back and forth, but that's not what people want now. People really want solutions. That's what they want, because it could be your daughter tomorrow, my son today. It's just the way it is. You know, the fact is that most crimes committed where people die is not by guns. It's by knives and other weapons. It's just these are the facts. And so I understand what you're saying about guns, but Congress, under the Biden administration, Obama administration, all administrations have passed gun legislation. They do this all the time.
Not enough, though.
Yeah, but they do it. I don't think you're saying that is the only reason why this has escalated. Because I think you believe that accountability, responsibility, and like you said in your earlier commentary, if someone has a record of 13 times after they've been put back out, and like this congresswoman became their 13th victim, you said there's a preponderance of evidence to say that this person should not go back out on the street. And look, I've carried firearms, you probably carry firearms, and while I consider myself responsible, sometimes those guns save lives and protect people. So it can't just be about guns. What is it? Is it the lack of fatherhood? Is it the lack that these kids don't understand what it means to be responsible? Is it that mental illness? A lot of us are mentally ill. We just don't call it that, but we're not running around here killing people. I saw what happened in the courtroom when the killer in Buffalo, when the families attacked them. That anger is still there. They lost their loved ones. It's got to be more than just guns and the sound bites that we give in terms of red meat on TV.
Well, you can't compare the parents of those or the loved ones of those who were victimized of a racist shooting with gun violence or someone robbing people.
My point was about the anger they still have pent up almost a year later after their loved ones died.
Well, yeah.
But what are the real solutions? What can the court system do? What can the judicial system, what needs to change?
Well, it's beyond the criminal justice system.
Okay.
Because every instance or incident that you named had a different reason behind it, or different, not justification, but different circumstances. That's the first thing. I think it is about mental illness, and providing enough mental health to our communities is super important. But that costs money.
But you don't know they're mentally ill until they commit the crime.
That's not true.
That's not true. That is true.
That is not true.
But they have the manifestos on the internet, and they tell people what they're going to have to do.
Yeah.
And the law says, I can't do anything until you commit the crime.
Well, you got to pass laws that mandate that technology companies do a better job than letting a free-for-all on our First Amendment. You know, free speech and hate speech, or rather hate speech ain't never been free speech for anybody. And hate speech kills, right? And so the technology companies, in my opinion, God bless them, they got to do a better job, whether it's racist rants or anti-Semitic rants, you name it. But again, it's a continuum of issues, but it takes money and priority on our legislators to pass laws at the state and federal level. And historically, both Democrats, more Republicans have been hesitant to do the right thing. How is it that you can have mass shootings all around this country and we can't pass substantive gun legislation to ban assault rifle weapons? You know, we once had an assault ban on legislation. Senator Metzenbaum from Ohio, who's no longer with us. We saw the statistics go down of mass shootings. It didn't stop mass shootings, but it certainly limited them, something like by 60 to 70% less the following years when that ban was in place. We know it works, right? But between the gun lobby and the bastardization of the Second Amendment that says you can own a weapon as part of a militia,
so
that's a fact.
What needs to change in the law?
We're going to get tired of these mass shootings and killing our children and our loved ones. Eventually, someone in my life, your life, elected officials' lives is going to be touched by this gun violence of these weapons of mass destruction. And maybe, unfortunately, maybe once the elected officials start to feel it personally, then they'll have the courage to stand up to the gun lobby. They will understand that the Second Amendment can come with some limitations for compelling state interest. That is to preserve life and to avoid violence.
But Scott, the problem here in most of these places where there's no gun carry zone, where you can't even carry firearms, you and I both know if these criminals are bent on getting firearms, they're going to get them.
So do a background check. Why do I need a weapon of mass destruction, an AKC-47 or AR-15? I don't want to hear that you can hunt with that because you don't necessarily have to hunt with that. So here's a simple solution, right? If you got an AR-15 or a weapon of mass destruction, why not pass a law that to store it, you can't keep it at home, but you have to keep it at a gun range, because the only reason you would have that weapon is for target practice. I'm sorry.
But we also see crime drops drastically in states where you have carry laws.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
it's true.
Well, so you're going to add more guns to the equation than less guns.
I'm not saying
you want to add more guns because that's even more dangerous.
But I'm saying where they're carrying laws, some people realize that if you're not going to go to somebody's home that has a firearm or a German Shepherd. You're going to find a place.
Doesn't stop the gun violence, though.
But look, so listen, at what age?
Georgia, Montana, are you saying that the crime has gone down because those are open carry states?
I'm just saying
that only protects the responsible gun owners.
The statistics bear out that crime drops when you have the carry state. But look, at what age are we fully responsible for our actions? What is the youngest age that a criminal should be punished as an adult? And it's carrying. And maybe carrying a gun is not always the safest way because you become a target. But what age should they be punished?
Well, in most jurisdictions, a juvenile, if they commit a heinous crime, can be punished as an adult, 14, 16, 18 years old. But an access to a weapon shouldn't be more than 21 years. If I can't drink alcohol in this country until I'm 21, how is it that I can be 14, 16, and 18 in some jurisdictions and have access to a gun, a weapon of mass destruction, or even a 9mm? It makes sense. Statistics show that people with guns, that guns kill people and people with guns kill people, and the carnage is way too much in this country right now, and we all walk around in this daze like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Your first question is, what are we going to do about all of this? Well, I can tell you, you got to get the guns off the street. It may not be the only solution, but it's a pretty important solution, along with every one of economic uplift in our communities, of mental health counseling, access to mental health, police doing a better job, because police violence is also killing young black men and women.
What about the breakdown of the family?
Well, Republicans love this whole idea. Yeah, but you sound like a Republican. And you are a Republican. And I'm a proud Democrat.
And I'm a proud GOP
God bless you,
God bless you.
And so what's the break? We have blended families now. We don't have the traditional families from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And Lord knows, because black people were really being oppressed in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So you don't want to go back to then. But a strong black family, any family, a strong family, does it mean two parents? Can you have two gay parents who would make up a strong family unit? I certainly think so. We've got blended families now. That's not reality. But a strong family means adults who care and want to raise their people
before we go to break.
and raise their kids.
There is something wrong when you have a disproportionate number of young men who happen to be black committing so many of these crimes. It's got to go back.
They're not the only ones, though.
White
men commit crimes too.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, but I'm talking about disproportionately. You don't want to address that. But they're not committing crimes because they're black. It's because
they're not committing crimes because they grew up with a single mother either.
But it's a value. It's a value system, man.
You can have a value system. Value systems value systems cover individuals at any level of family if you raise the right way. But if you look at the
statistics again, most young men who grow up with strong fathers don't find themselves in this line of violence and homicide.
And if they grew up with a strong mother and strong men and strong uncles and strong teachers, that's a good role model system for them too.
If they're men.
Why do you want to blame black men?
I'm not blaming black men.
Why do you want to blame black men and black mothers and fathers, or the lack thereof of violence in this country? That is so Republican.
That's red meat.
No, it's red meat, but it's racist too. It's got racist overtones to it. Stop blaming black people for black on black crime. You know who taught black people about violence? You know why? Violence committed on them, right? You want us to do better? Then white America ought to do better.
Let me just say this for you, because you're good at this, but not today. This is not about white. This is not about black. It's about behavior.
Always about race.
No, it's not.
It's always about race.
Right and wrong.
This country.
It's about how you live, how you respect your neighbors.
Yeah.
It's about character.
Yeah.
The character has nothing to do with race. Now, you and your party can make it about race.
If I'm poor, black, and disenfranchised.
That's not an excuse.
Oh, yes, it is.
There are a lot of black people poor.
Oh, yes, it is. My goodness gracious.
I got to get out of here.
No, don't get out of here yet. Let's finish.
I do.
We got time. Let's finish, because I got more for you.
We're going to come back. We're going to come back. Oh, it's all right. We'll be back. Okay. All right. Go back.